Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin our services, if we can please kindly turn off all cell phones or electronic devices, or please place them on silent. Thank you.
Welcome, everyone. Eshet Chayil mi'imsa, a woman of valor who can find, for her worth is far greater than rubies. The heart of her husband does safely trust in her, and through her he has no lack of gain. She does him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeks wool and flax and works willingly with her hands. She's like the merchant ships. She brings her food from afar. She rises also while it is yet night and gives food to her household and a portion to her maidens. She considers a field and buys it, and with the fruit of her hands she plants a vineyard. She girds her loins with strength and makes strong her arms. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the law of kindness is on her tongue. She looks well to the ways of her household and eats not the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and call her blessed, and her husband also, and he praises her. Many women have done valiantly, he says, but you exceed them all. End quote. Begin our time together this afternoon in memory of the beloved Ronnie Levine by reading an excerpt from Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor, which comes from chapter 31 of the book of Proverbs. It's used as a song sung each Friday night at the Shabbat table in celebration of a strong Jewish woman. And today, we are brought together in loving memory of Ronnie Levine, a woman whom I learned demonstrated many of the characteristics described in Eshet Chayil. Now, unlike many of you, I didn't know her in life, only coming into contact with this close-knit and loving family a few days ago upon news of her passing. But I met with her husband Ira, her children, and some of her grandchildren, and they shared with me about the essence of the woman who was their wife, mother, and bubby. She was described to me as elegant, educated, beautiful, driven, sophisticated, and classy, among many other adjectives. And you're going to hear from a number of the members of this family who are going to share about their deep love and connection to her and what made her so special in just a few minutes. But Eshet Chayil says that the heart of her husband does safely trust in her, and it's important to note, and many of you may already know, that Ira and Ronnie would have been married 60 years. Their 60th anniversary would be this coming Friday, in just a few days. And it was clear to me the deep love that he's had for her since the day that they met. Eshet Chayil also says that her children rise up and call her blessed. And it was clear to me that her children, Jody and Michael and their spouses, had deep love for Ronnie and appreciated who she was for them, her strong role and presence in their lives and in the lives of their children, and how her genuine, authentic, and hardworking nature inspired them. Now, I also learned that she let Michael play football, and that was something that my mother told me was against Jewish law for Jewish mothers to let their son do, so I never played football like you. Your mother was correct. I learned about Ronnie's warmth with her grandchildren. Josie, when we were speaking, highlighted how special her grandmother's hugs were. Morgan shared about her grandmother's way of fully understanding her. And Ira said, and I quote, "I knew from our first date that this was to be a love for the ages," end quote. All this to say that this loss is felt deeply and fully. But today, we raise up Ronnie's honor and memory, and we show appreciation for the impact she's had on all of your lives. We say, Zichrona livracha, may her memory be a blessing. But we note that while the physical body is temporary, the soul is eternal. That is without end. So while we come together today to pray for full and complete rest for her body, we offer blessings for the continued elevation of her soul, which remains bound in the bond of life, to each of you as you carry her best qualities forward. So to all those gathered here in this chapel today physically, welcome. And I want to extend a special welcome also to those gathered on the live stream watching remotely. The family is expressed, and we know that your presence is important, and it is felt here with us in this chapel. My name's Rabbi Nathan Weiner. I'm a rabbi locally here in southern New Jersey, and it was an honor to get the call from the chapel here, from the funeral home, to walk this stage of the journey with you and your family. So on behalf of myself and my family, and if I can be brazen, the Jewish people, we offer sincere condolences to you. It's an honor to be present here with you today, to mourn alongside you, and to celebrate Ronnie's memory with you. Ronnie's predeceased by her parents, Joseph and Florence Geller of blessed memory. She's survived by her husband Ira, her daughter Jody, and Jody's husband Ross, her son Michael, and Michael's wife Wendy. Her grandchildren, Rachel, Jocelyn, Morgan, Sophia, and Hayden. Not to mention her dog Harley, who I met, and who I was told by Ira is also grieving, which we could see. She's also survived by many beloved family and friends. May your love for one another, God willing, carry you through this difficult loss and transition. Now going to recite Psalm 23, a psalm said universally across the Abrahamic faith traditions at moments of grief and loss. I'll read it first in the Hebrew, followed by a standard translation in the English, and if you're comfortable and wish to in either language, you're welcome to say any or part of it with me. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai ro'i lo achzar, bin otesha yarbitzeni al mei menuchot yinahaleni, nafshi yeshoveh v'encheni b'maglei tzedek lema'an shemo, gam ki elech b'getzel mavet lo irara ki ata imadi, shivtecha u'mishantecha hema yenachamuni, ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged zorarai, tishanta v'shemen roshi kosi revaya, ach tov v'chesed yerdefuni kol yemei chayai, V'shavti b'veit Adonai le'orech yamim. A Psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen, amen. From Kohelet, Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, for everything there is a season, a time for every experience under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what has been planted. A time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time for silence and a time for speaking. We're now at a time for speaking as members of the family have prepared words of a hesped, of a eulogy in honor of their beloved wife, mom, and Bubby. And we're first going to hear from grandchildren. First, it'll be Sophia and Hayden, and then we'll hear from Morgan, and then Josie and Rachel. So Sophia and Hayden.
My Bubby was truly a one-of-a-kind individual. I was her prince amongst a quartet of princesses. Trips to New York to see baseball games and go shopping at sneaker stores. You were always fascinated by how many shoes I had, and you certainly contributed your fair share. Coming to visit Florida was always a treat, and doing stockings on Christmas morning simply because my mom liked the festivity of the holiday. Don't worry, we also had family Hanukkah. Going golfing, whether it was at PGA or Woodcrest. My Bubby was a good golfer, even though she would maybe let out a few obscenities after a bad shot. You were a supporter like no other. You may have jumped onto the Eagles bandwagon, but if you consider yourself a Giants fan over the 8 years before, I can't really blame you. You supported during soccer and basketball games. You were a silencer for when Poppy maybe got a little bit too rambunctious. While I know the last year had been tough, you fought like hell to see and enjoy every last moment. You made it to basketball games and lacrosse games. You got to see your two little ones graduate on the same day. We will forever continue to make you proud. Never do anything that Bubby wouldn't do. And thank you, because while your fight may have come to an end, I now know that there's an extra person helping me get to the finish line of mine. Don't go too far. There's still a lot for you to see. I love you, Bubby.
I'm going to be a lot shorter because I'm already crying. For those of you who don't know, I have 2 tattoos. And I got my second one most recently in June. And it's a lighthouse in honor of my Bubby. For as long as I can remember, Bubby always told me that if I was ever in need or if I was in trouble or I just needed someone to guide me, I could look to her like a ship looks for the lighthouse in a dark storm. She'll always be my guide, and I will carry her with me mentally, spiritually, and physically on my arm forever. I love you so much, Bubby, and I'm going to miss you so much. I hope this is the last time I have to do this for a while. Knock on wood, poo-poo the hole, you know. I'm a psychology major. When events in my life occur and I really do not know how to respond, or better yet, why I respond in certain ways, I turn to psychology. My family and I are no strangers to diagnoses and illnesses. We have been faced with a lot over the last 2 years, and when you are faced with a lot, you try to make sense of it all. For me, it is rationalizing and journaling. A little over a month ago, when we found out Bubby was going to stop her chemo treatments, I found myself right there, rationalizing and journaling. I got to thinking, why can't I remember all those first moments and experiences with my Bubby from when I was younger? The first time we built our future on Spaceship Earth at Disney World. The first time she let me play in her makeup drawer. The first time she took me to the Philly Zoo. Even the first time I fell asleep in her arms as a baby. I know, I can't remember so many of those first moments for a reason. Again, psychology. Our brains don't quite have the capacity yet. We can't really form vivid memories until we are 4 years old, and even then it is not constant. We won't remember everything when we are young, and this made me so upset. Our time with our grandparents can be so fleeting, so we should be able to remember all of the moments from when we are little, especially when you have the privilege to spend so much time surrounded by their love. I took a second, though. Sat there with myself and realized that psychology wasn't going to help me this time. I realized that in some ways, in all the ways I do remember those first moments, I might not be able to paint those vivid pictures, but I still remember because my heart remembers all of those moments. I say that because I do not think it would be possible to love someone so much if they had not been present for so much of your life. I have friends who are not fortunate enough to be close to their grandparents, whose grandparents have never been present. That's never been me. I have a bubby who would jump at the chance to drop me off or pick me up from school. I have a bubby who would already be waiting at the soccer field for me when I arrived for a game. I have a bubby who would take me shopping but never tried to convince me to try something on because she knew I could be very picky. I have a bubby who sat with me in the kitchen while I ate Cookie Crisp cereal at midnight for a week straight, even though I didn't want to, and would stroke my hair. And then a week later, when I was diagnosed with diabetes, she became a champion for me. I have a bubby who did my makeup for my senior year portraits and made me feel so beautiful, and then a year and a half later, gifted me the lip gloss she used. And when she did, told me, "I just remember how beautiful this color looked on you, so I wanted you to have one of your own." I never told her how much that moment meant to me, and I wish I had. But I think I've made my point. I have a really, really good bubby. Strong, caring, hardworking, smart. Made sure the people she loved knew how much they were loved, even with just a look. Fought for what she believed in. Bubby taught me so much about life, and I've learned lessons from her I will never forget. I want to end this with just some of what Bubby has given me. Don't hold grudges against the people you love. Hold on to your empathy because it makes your heart whole. Try not to sweat the small stuff. Never apologize for being right. Don't leave the house without a little bit of lipstick and some blush. And always do what makes you happy. My beautiful Bubby, I wish you did not have to leave so soon. But I know you will be a part of me forever. Always your sunshine girl. I love you so much.
Bubby loved to shop. It was one of her most favorite things to do. So I remember the time when she took me to New York to shop in Bloomingdale's. It was my first time going there. But yet, before we went there, she took me down to Macy's, to Memory Lane, to show her what she did in her shopping days and her merch when she was there. That was one of my favorite days. Then we went to New York again to see Broadway shows, because I always enjoyed that. Bubby and Poppy took me to the M&M store just to get a bag of M&Ms to eat while watching the shows. And that was also a good memory. Especially when I got to perform on stage with an improv session with one of the Stomp members, and then cried in the seat when I watched Les Mis. That was a moment too. I still wear the clothing I got. Hasn't been torn or what. Still in good condition. Take care, Bubby, and we'll be here for Poppy to give us all the love he can get.
When I was 5 years and 3 months old, as Bubby so meticulously noted on the inside cover of the book, Bubby and I started writing down what we did when we would visit in this pink book. One of the earliest entries is about a trip to Disney. Sunday, June 5th to Tuesday, June 7th, 2005. Bubby, Poppy, Rachel, and Josie went to Disney World. We played at Animal Kingdom. You could see the animals from our room. Sunday, we went on a safari and saw lots of animals. Monday, we went to the Magic Kingdom. We went on lots of rides. Tuesday, we went to Epcot. We rode the space ride and talked to the turtle from Nemo in the Land of the Sea. His name was Crush. Then we went back to Bubby's house. Tomorrow, we go home to Mommy and Daddy. Bubby and Poppy were tired. In the Land of the Sea, there's a restaurant called Coral Reef where you can sit next to the big aquarium tank while you eat. I had the seat right next to the tank, and you can imagine the terror I felt when I turned to see a Goliath grouper staring at me, causing me to jump into Bubby's lap and bury my head in her shoulder. That shoulder became one of the safest places in the world for me whenever I was in need of comfort. A year and a half later, we wrote about our first family trip to Disney in the Pink Book, and the family love affair with Disney was born. In fact, last Thanksgiving, instead of going around the table and sharing what we were thankful for, we all shared our favorite Disney memories. Spring break of my freshman year in college, March 2019, while all the cool kids were sitting on some foreign beach, I was in Disney World with Bubby and Poppy. We stayed at that same hotel that we did in June 2005. It was the last time I went to Disney with Bubby. This past April, Morgan, Sophia, and I went to Disney for Sophia's senior trip because Cherry Hill West doesn't do Disney right, and if there's one thing this family knows, it's Disney. Early in the trip, we realized we would never go to Disney with Bubby again, something we all cherished so much growing up. While Sophia sobbed on the People Mover, Morgan joked about it being a sign from God when we got off the space ride, formerly known as Spaceship Earth. I barely held it together as we walked past the Coral Reef, and we all held hands and cried while the fireworks show at Epcot played Remember Me from Coco. I realized that not only will we always have Bubby at Disney, but we will carry her with us in the ambition, perspective, and advice she gave us that made us who we are. I once told Bubby, when she was lamenting about how old she was, that she existed outside of time. I can now say for certain that is true. Bubby was the most kick-ass woman ever, and I hope I can be even half of the woman she was. I'll love and miss you forever, Bubby.
Now hear from her children, first Michael and then Jody.
For those of you that do not know me well, this will be brief. For those of you that know me well, know I'm lying. And there will be an explanation as to why my daughter is wearing plastic earrings. I promise. Thank you all for coming today to remember Mom. Whether you are family, old friend, or new friend, your presence is greatly appreciated and is a helping hand of comfort. One's not enough. Anytime family plans had to be made, Mom generally had the same message. I don't want to cause problems. Do whatever is easiest for you. Our family's upcoming schedule is littered with college move-ins, new jobs, classes starting. Mom knew that, so she absolutely took control, as she usually did, of the schedule so as not to cause any difficulty. I believe the significance of one's life is not measured by the size of one's estate, but by the pain left behind, felt by the loved ones. There is not a large enough scale to measure the weight of my pain today. Mama's boy, as defined by Oxford, a boy or man who was influenced by his mother, guilty as charged. I've been a girl dad for 24 years. Mom was a boy mom for 54, a skill she learned from her mother-in-law, May. One of my earliest memories of Mom was after our car accident while moving to Maine in '73. I remember sharing a wheelchair with Jody while nurses picked broken glass out of Mom. She kept talking to us so we wouldn't be scared and reassured us that we were safe. During multiple trips to the ER with sports injuries, she promised me, "It will heal, you'll be okay." Almost every winter vacation was a ski trip. Mom had a hard rule: warm up on an easy trail and never say last run because you don't want to jinx yourself and get injured on your last run. So at our favorite mountain, Sugarloaf, my last run of each day was always with Mom on her favorite trail at Sugarloaf, Tote Road. This past Father's Day, my girls got me a blanket with the Sugarloaf trail map on it. Every movie night, I wrapped myself up in that blanket, see Tote Road, and know Mom's ski rule was to keep me safe. I most resemble Mom's dad, Grandpa Joe. Joe passed away when Mom was 8. Joe was an athlete just like my father, so Mom knew she would be an athlete's mother. Whether I was playing or coaching, Mom loved watching me on a ball field. She was at most games, notebook in hand, to fill Dad in on how I played if work kept him from being there, which wasn't often. The report often included her motherly pride, understanding every at-bat didn't end well. Michael had a great hit, but some other mom's kid made a great catch. Sophomore year, we had a series of road games Mom couldn't get to, and I was in a real slump. Finally, back in home field, Mom was late getting to the game due to an issue at work. As I walked to the plate for my second at-bat, I saw Mom hurrying from her car. She happened to be wearing a plastic pair of dinosaur earrings you may have just seen. They were an item that she sold in the store, so she always would wear them when she was working. We made eye contact. First pitch, base hit, slump over. From then on, before every pitch, I would make quick eye contact with Mom. And yes, I batted 1,000 the rest of my career. All right, not quite. But with Mom there, I always felt it was possible. Those dinosaur earrings were worn to every game. You know Mom's style, but she never complained about having to wear them. And they're here today, as you saw, in Rachel's years, her softball-playing granddaughter. I suspect that those earrings will see many hits of future ball players. I still feel invincible in their presence. I still feel safe. No matter what was troubling me, no matter how tough I thought the road ahead would be, no matter what problem I had created for myself, Mom was my home field advantage. I always felt safe if she was nearby. Mom, you are finally back together with both your parents for the first time in over 70 years. We will miss you greatly, but I know Nanny Flo and Grandpa Joe are enjoying your warm embrace, and you are safe in their arms. Don't worry about Dad. Jody and I and your 5 treasures will take good care of him and keep him safe. He will fill you in every night as he dreams of his best friend, partner in life, and his true love. You can rest easy now, Mom. I know that if I ever need you, if I am adrift and need your help, I know exactly where to find you on the first base side between the backstop and dugout. I love you beyond measure.
On behalf of our family, I'd like to thank everyone for coming. As I sat with Mom towards the end of her life, she reminded me to talk to her often. One of the first things she asked for was, make sure you tell me who's there. So she will be very pleased to see so many friends, old and new, and colleagues here, so thank you. There is a Winnie the Pooh quote that I keep on my phone. How lucky I am to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard. I was so very lucky to have had such a beautiful, smart, and loving mom, and this is so very hard. My mom was raised by a tough and strong single mom. I was raised by a strong woman who, although she had her partner of 60 years beside her every day, was also very tough and strong. Humor was her mother's gift to me, and I could always make my mom laugh. To get through this, I'm going to have to rely heavily on that gift, and Mom made me promise not to be too sad. I may not have always listened to her through the years, but this time I'm going to try, as I want everyone here to see her, love her, and remember her through my eyes. Speaking of my eyes, my mom always read me through my eyes. She swore they changed shades of blue when I was tired, sick, or angry. She would often know when I was coming down with something before a first symptom hit. Now, to my Temple friends, I think only she had that power, so don't be staring at me. Try to figure out where my head's at. Today, the light in my eyes is a bit dimmer. My memories of my mom are flooded with girls' days, life lessons, and lots of laughs. Our trips, St. Martin, Italy, Paris, business trips to Maryland, Chicago, and Wisconsin. The best one may have been when she, Mom Eileen, and one of their friends absolutely had to accompany me to a conference in Miami, South Beach, where the hotel had a fabulous spa. Somehow, everyone I met at that conference, where I was trying to be a grown-up, said, "Oh, we met your mom and her friends. They are very proud of you." She was my biggest cheerleader. Shopping, lots of laughter when we would try clothes on, and she would say something looked nice. Nice was Mom's code word for no, I don't think so. When she didn't want to tell you something wasn't the best look or fit. I apologize if she said that to some of her friends. But it was mostly her making me feel good about myself and how I looked when a new outfit would get a love it. Life lessons. Number one was passed down from her mom. Anyone who doesn't like you is stupid. Started out when she was a teenager, and if a boy didn't like her. I am so grateful that she knew so many stupid boys before she met the one smart boy, my dad. He saw her beauty, intelligence, and grace from day one. Mom reminded me of this lesson often when I was growing up, and I have passed this one on to Morgan and my nieces. Pace yourself. This one annoyed me. When work was stressful and my plate was full, Mom would always tell me to pace myself, like that was an option. Over time, she knew saying this would make me laugh, so she just threw it out there to get me to smile. Don't yell at me because you're going to miss me when I am gone. I never understood that one in the heat of the moment, mostly during COVID, when I was trying to tell her what she and Dad should or should not be doing during a worldwide pandemic. But boy, would I love to yell at you or nag at you about something right now. I get it. If you have to ask, it doesn't mean the same. Mom always wanted us to do what we wanted, even if she wanted to do something else. Her motto was live and let live. She wanted us and the kids to visit because we wanted to, and not out of obligation. If she had to demand a command performance, it was never the same for her. When we were together, she knew we wanted to be present, and we all valued and cherished that time. Say thank you. Every single time my dad took the family out to dinner or took my mom out to dinner, she said thank you. Every dinner was a date. I realize I now do this and always thank Ross after he pays for dinner. You taught me gratitude. Laughs, way too many to count, but number one is the lady that stood between Mom and me and a chocolate cake on a midnight buffet on one of our cruises. No one was harmed, let's just leave it at that. My mom was an amazing woman, wife, mother-in-law, best bubby ever, and a great friend, my very first best friend. I hope that I said thank you enough for all she did for me and who she helped me become. Thank you for loving Ross, and it's more than okay on some days I think she liked him more than me. As I tried to collect my thoughts and emotions while drafting this, it was like my life was flashing before my eyes. The true testimony to what an incredible mom she was is that I don't have enough time here to share my memories, but here are some of my favorites. Black cat cookies, my favorite thing to bake with Mom. Halloween costumes. We moved to Maine when I was 7. Most kids there had moms who knew how to sew and had homemade costumes. My mom excelled at the ones that came with a plastic mask in a box. One year, stubborn and adamant Jody insisted on a homemade costume. Mom's response was we could be anything you could make out of a bed sheet. I was an Indian princess in a brown sheet with a headband and feather in my hair. My brother Michael was put in a white sheet with powder on his face and went as a sack of flour. Homemade, check, best Halloween ever, and only costume I remember. Hard work. Mommy worked most of my childhood and early adult life. She had very cool jobs. She owned a makeup store and a Benetton. Throughout high school, she was not only my mom, but my boss. Even though I got fired many days before lunch, she was a great boss, and everyone who worked for her loved her. My love of reading. She encouraged me to read at a young age. We loved talking about what we were reading, and often were a book club of 2. And then there are things that people may be wondering if I will mention. Your epic political Facebook posts. No, I am not going there. I am having so much trouble imagining my world without you, Mommy. You made me promise to talk to you. Many of our conversations over the years were about catching up with everything going on in our lives or the lives of others. You loved all your friends and their families. During your Florida winters, I would hear all about the kids, grandkids, great-grandkids, and various ailments of your Florida friends. When you moved to Montebello, you spoke about new friends and neighbors, their dogs, lunch bunch, and book club. So I will do my best to find quiet moments when I can share updates with you. How Morgan is doing in her senior year and Hayden's first year at Temple. Many of those talks will come on my drive home from work. Our time was always at the end of the day. That time will always feel a bit empty. So while today is about remembering Mom, I have to talk about my dad and his incredible devotion to her. You never wavered in caring for her this past year. You cooked and cleaned. You went to every appointment. You and Mom showed us what a loving relationship and deeply devoted friendship looks like. I know you will miss her most, but please know how much we love you and that we promised Mom that we would take care of you and make sure you get to enjoy the moments that she will sadly not see. A few final promises. I promise to make sure that Bubby's stories are a part of every family gathering. Our family eats really fast, so we will have plenty of time to smile, laugh, and shed tears thinking of our wonderful memories of you. I promise to always tell you what I'm reading or watching on TV, and it is so unfair you will not get to see the new season of Emily in Paris. I promise to laugh and pace myself, and I always remember to text you when I get there, even though you will now guide me on every journey. You are now with your parents, Nanny May, Aunt Norma, Big Papi, and Alan. Give them kisses from me, and please keep a watch over all of us. Remember your promise. Love you.
And lastly, to share some words about his beloved wife, Ira.
The line on this is Vegas, about 10 to 1, I don't make it, but I'll do the best I can. For the better part of 64 years, Ronnie and I did almost everything together. Why stop now? This celebration of her life was written from the hearts of both of us. Ronnie and I composed this together. I wanted her to be able to hear what she can't hear today. From Ronnie, to all of you here today who have been part of our lives, I have chosen a few lines from a song by Australian Judith Durham. She was the lead singer of The Seekers, whose music Ira and I love so very much. I send them to Jody and Ross, Michael and Wendy, and my 5 amazing grandchildren. I am happy to share them with my family and friends. Children, Papi promised not to sing. I will be watching. It's hard to leave you all behind. I can't do this. Yeah, I can. It's hard to leave you all behind. Your loving smile is so sweet and kind. I love you all. You're a part of me. With all I leave, the heart of me. Without me here by your side, I used to be so tough. Without me here by your side, let destiny be your guide. It's hard to leave you, but I must go. Just remember, I love you so. You heard what a wonderful mother and Bubby she was. Many here today, and many more who may be streaming, know that what a devoted friend she was to all of you. Ronnie touched the hearts of everyone who came to know her. She first touched mine with a glance across a restaurant in 1960. Mama Sorrento's Nancy. Ronnie was born on June 4th, 1945. At the age of 8, her father passed away. Her mother, Florence, was left to raise Ronnie and her sister on a small Social Security check and a low-paying job. Florence had to sell her home. 3 years later, at the age of 11, her 15-year-old sister left home. Ronnie was determined to be the best daughter she could be, make her mother proud, and never gave her any cause to worry. They lived in a small bedroom apartment in Forest Hills. Her mother went without, so Ronnie could have nice clothes and not feel ashamed when she went to school in this upscale community of Forest Hills. She never forget what your dad did on her 16th birthday for you guys. Her childhood played a huge role in the extraordinary woman she was to become. From Ronnie. We were dating for almost 3 years, and we were so much in love. We were both about to graduate, and we talked about getting married. I was sure Ira would plan something special. I asked him if he would give me the ring when my mother was with us. Please do it in my apartment so my mother can finally get the joy and happiness she deserved. I proposed in their small kitchen. Mom cried, so did I. Ronnie always thought about everyone else before herself. From Ronnie, I never knew what you were planning. Tell me now. I said, a rowboat is Central Park. Ronnie says, kitchen was better. I was not a good swimmer. Ronnie was a gifted student, graduated Forest Hills High School at 16. She graduated Queens College at 19 with a teaching degree. From Ronnie, children in my amazing 5. No doubt your smarts came from me. Athletic skills, definitely from Poppy. I always knew her intense drive was fueled by her need to get that first paycheck and start helping her mom. We cashed her first check, and we took Mom to dinner. Ronnie gave her mom the money and said, now it's our turn. We took wonderful care of Flo until she passed many years later. November 11th, 1961, the luckiest day of my life. There's a precursor to this, but I'm going to leave it out. Mommy begged me to. You know what? Yeah. I walked into Jan's, Nancy. Nancy and Ronnie were friends since they were 11, by the way. Jan's ice cream parlor in Rego Park, and sitting in the first booth was my friend Mike. He was sitting with Ronnie and her close friend Mary Beth. Excuse me while I wipe my nose.
Is that part written down?
No. That's a complete ad lib. I sat down. Mike and I were both going to Queens College, and Ronnie was starting Queens in January. We talked about college. I offered the girls a ride home. After I was smart enough to drop off Mary Beth first, and Mary Beth eventually became a maid of honor. I took Ronnie up to her apartment building and up to her apartment. Before saying goodnight, I asked if I could call her, perhaps a movie or just a walk. She told me she had a boyfriend. Who was it?
Okay, keep going.
Stewie. Stewie Cohn.
There's no quiz, I promise.
I asked for her number. Ronnie, I think I said I will think about it. I think I gave it to you. Didn't I? I knew who you were. You had a reputation. I thought you were adorable. As I was walking to the elevator, she said, "It's easy to remember. The number is TW65544. Never forgot it, and it is easy to remember." I kept saying it to myself down the elevator till I got to my car and hoped I had a pencil. I called her about an hour later when I got home and asked her out. Our first date was December 1st, 1961. We had dinner at the Bamboo Inn in Hewlett, and we saw a romantic comedy, Romanoff and Juliet. She wore a tight purple dress. I took her home, kissed her goodnight. On my ride home, I said out loud, "Goodbye, boyfriend." Our 64 years together began that night. We were married on August 16th, 1964. It will be 60 years this Friday. After a year of marriage at the height of Vietnam, my number came up in the draft. I went down to 39 Whitehall Street, the Selective Service Center, and I was sent to the Marine Corps section. I told an officer, I am newly married. Do I have a way out? My student deferment was used. He asked, "Do you have any children?" "Not yet." "You have some time before induction. Better get one." I went home, told Ronnie what the officer said. First words out of her mouth, "Let's get started." My daughter Jody has reminded me more than once how she was responsible for keeping me out of Vietnam. Ronnie's teaching career ended 9 months later. We had 2 apartments before we bought our first of 15 homes we lived in. Ronnie, I hated that Ira's job kept him away from home. He traveled almost every week. I asked him to see if he could arrange to travel less. I never thought we would end up in Maine. I never could say no to Ronnie. Shortly after that, I flew to our corporate offices in Dallas and made an arrangement to move to New England and manage New England territory instead of half the country. I flew home, told Ronnie, and I had an option to make a change. I asked her if she was okay moving to Portland, Maine. Ronnie, I remember I asked Ira, "Would you be home more and not traveling as much?" I said, "For sure." Honestly, I was not thrilled. "Can we take Mom?" Flo was visiting. We woke her up, told her, "Would you like to live in Maine?" We laughed. She said, "What's Maine?" Hurricane Ronnie hits Portland, Maine. Maine was a wonderful place to raise our family, but didn't quite live up to Ronnie's fashion standards. She was not going to let provincial Maine change her. She set out to change Portland, Maine, and she did. "Ronnie, dearest," to me, "please don't go on and on about our 18 years in Maine. I know how much you miss it. Here is what I'd like you to say." Ronnie, Ira had an amazing work ethic and worked hard to keep us secure. I saw my mother struggle, and I wanted to be independent, a partner, and be able to provide for our children if something happened to you. Our children were growing up and in high school, and I wanted to contribute. Ira had his own business by then, and I wanted one too. Many of you know how much makeup meant to Ronnie. It ran a close second to our family. On a trip to D.C., Ronnie discovers a cosmetic franchise targeted to a younger market. She thinks about a location in the main mall, contacts the franchise owners, invites them to Portland, and several weeks later, she fulfills her dream of a lifetime, her own cosmetic boutique called Over the Rainbow. This is War and Peace. Several months later, we visit New York. Benetton is sweeping the nation, a store on almost every street. Why not bring them to Portland, Maine, Ronnie? Portland, Maine. Ronnie finds an amazing location in Portland, reaches Andrea Benetton in New York. They visit, and several weeks later, a store opens. A smash. I'm thinking retirement. "Ron, you can't run 2 stores." She sells Rainbow. Eventually, Benetton buys her store. Ronnie, I was sorry to lose that store. I had no choice. They opened a company outlet store in Freeport, Maine, and I knew it would hurt my business. You, me, forced them to buy it, and it closed after the outlet opened. A dear friend of ours is trying to develop a home furnishing retail mall, not from our home. Jonathan, I was
He's over there.
so great you came. It was your dad. I come home and Ronnie says, we have to help Alan. Let's open a window treatment store. I ask her, what do you know about shades and blinds? Ronnie, stop writing to me. I remember exactly what I said. I laughed and said, you dummy, it's your father's business. Dad will help me. You can take dummy out if you want. She opens a shade better, a window treatment store. The mall was not a success, so she relocates to Falmouth, Maine. Her first customer is Senator Bill Cohen's wife. She enjoyed doing it with my dad's help. They had an amazing relationship. You see, my father and Ronnie's father had the same birthday. She got the father she never had, and he got the daughter he never had. It became clear to us it's time to leave Maine. Jody, Michael decide after college not to live or work in Maine. I sell my business. Ronnie gives a shade better to her manager, and Cherry Hill, here we come. We make new friends. We're near our children. Ronnie's not working. Ronnie's not happy. She is a wonderful salesperson and gifted makeup artist. Why not become cosmetic manager at Macy's Cherry Hill Mall? Good place to start. She applies and gets the position. Takes on director of Macy's by appointment. We buy second home in Florida, gives up her jobs, and takes up golf. She said it was perfectly all right not to repeat my comment to her. And I will not tell you any of that. None of you, not even you two. Ronnie says, I dare you to tell everyone what you said to me when I told you that I was going to take up golf. I don't remember I lied. Well, I do. Then it will stay between us. 22 years later, we sell our home in Florida, move back to New Jersey, and Ronnie starts looking for work and playing the stock market. She took a part-time job to stay busy. Well, did you all get the message? Remember, I told you, I was the luckiest day of my life. When I walked into Jan's, now you know why. Ronnie was beautiful, brilliant, a terrific businesswoman, spontaneous, incredible daughter to our 4 children and the amazing 5. And as my son said, she was fierce. We had our share of ups and downs.
You're killing me.
Serious illness has more than once lashed out at our family. Ronnie never hesitated. She took it head on and made certain it would be as good as she could help make it be. I am forever grateful for the time we had together. It was a true love story and an amazing partnership. It's not over. It lives on. To my amazing 5, Rachel, Jocelyn, Morgan, Sophia, and Hayden, know that from this day on, when you see me, you see Bubby. Ronnie, I promise you will talk to me every day. Let me know what's going on. If you have a question for me, you already know what I would say. We have been finishing each other's sentences forever. A few days before she passed, I kissed her lips, and she reached up and touched my cheek. These were some of the last words I spoke to her. Ronnie, they are beautiful, but you will never get through it. She may have been right. I'm going to try. Give me a moment. I hear people say, forever and a day. When I found you, I knew what it meant. It means more than eternity. But even early on, I knew forever isn't long enough for me. When I held you in my arms to kiss or when we danced, I felt our hearts entwined. I wish our love could last like this, beyond the end of time. We shared a love so strong, there is only one thing wrong. Forever isn't long enough for me. With every step we took and the promises we made, the road we traveled together was paved with dreams, and most came true. If only there could be a little more you see. Forever isn't long enough for me. Honey, I made it. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Good job.
It's with these beautiful thoughts and memories and dedications in mind that we move to the central prayer of a Jewish memorial service, El Malei Rachamim, that asks that Ronnie's soul be granted true rest on the wings of God's divine presence. If it's comfortable physically for you to do so, I invite you to please rise. I read it first in translation in the English, followed by the chanting in the Hebrew. O God, full of compassion, who dwells on high, grant true rest upon the wings of the Shekhinah, the divine presence, in the exalted spheres of the holy and pure, who shine as a resplendence of the firmament to the soul of Ronnie Levine, who has gone to her eternal home. For charity has been donated in remembrance of her soul, may her place of rest be in the Garden of Eden. Therefore, may the All-Merciful One shelter her with the cover of God's wings forever and bind her soul in the bond of life. Adonai is her heritage. May she rest in her resting place in peace, and let us say, Amen. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hamitzei Menucha Nechona, Al Kanfei Hashchina, B'ma'alot Kedoshim Utehorim, Kezohar Harakia Mazhirim, Et Nishmat Rachalea Bat Yosef, Shehalcha le'olama, ba'avor shenadvu tzadaka, ba'ad hazkarat nishmata, began eden dehe menuchata, lachen bal harachamim yastireha b'seter kenafav le'olamim, v'itzror b'itzror hachayim et nishmata, Adonai hu nachalata, v'tanuach al mishkava b'shalom, v'nomar, Amen. Please remain standing as we shift our intentions now from the mitzvah of kavod hamet, of honoring the deceased, which we symbolically conclude at this moment in transition, to the mitzvah of nichum avelim, of comforting the mourners as we form a community of consolation around them, a minyan, a quorum that enables them to say for the first time in Ronnie's memory, the mourner's Kaddish, which itself is words of praise that get attributed to her saying them. Therefore, she continues to bring her mitzvot, her goodness, her essence, her being into the world. The mourner's Kaddish can be found on the page in the books open to by Jacob. If you'd like to recite it with me, you're welcome. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, bi'alma divra kirutei v'amlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon, uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'izman kariv imru, Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olamei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush bechata v'nechamata. Da'amiran bi'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min Shemaya. V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. May the one who ordains peace in the heavens inspire us to be God's partners and agents for peace on earth, for us, for all Israel and all inhabitants of the earth, and we say, Amen. Please be seated. Our formal time together here at the chapel is drawing to a close. A few brief announcements on behalf of the family. First, donations in lieu of flowers can please be made to, in Ronnie's memory, can please be made to Samaritan Healthcare and Hospice. Directly following our time here, family and friends, everyone is welcome back at Jody's home at 23 Manor House Drive in Cherry Hill, right up the street in Short Hills. That's 23 Manor House Drive in Cherry Hill. And then on Sunday, the home in Montebello, Monday, excuse me. Today's Sunday. Tomorrow, Monday. Thank you. From 2 to 6 p.m. in West Berlin at 30 Gainsborough Drive. 30 Gainsborough Drive from 2 to 6 p.m. for visits of consolation, but again, immediately following here. And they have handouts with the directions and the address for Shiva to be found in the back. So I'll conclude my piece as we offer to you, the immediate family, and if you know this and are familiar, you're welcome to say it with me, the traditional words of consolation. We say, Hamakom Yenachem Etchem Betoch Sha'ar Avelei Tzion V'Yerushalayim. May you be comforted, may the Holy One of Blessing have comfort for you, together among all the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. And may Ronnie's memory, Rachalea Bat Yosef Zichronah Livracha, may it be an everlasting blessing.
Folks in this row, we begin to head to our cars, please.